Hello, hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Good evening, good morning, good night, depending where you are in the world. Can you guys hear me loud and clear? Can we get an audio and visual check before I start here? So this is going to be a part of our self-development series as we rant about personal self-development, rant about global economic systems, political systems, society, and so forth. This is going to be an addition to that series, more of a connection to the Brotherhood webinar of how to really create a strong, productive brotherhood and what that means in terms of the expectations from the individuals who make up that brotherhood. Okay? So, within our modern society, it's very clear to see as we move farther and farther away from survival and people become more and more dependent on technology, which leaves them to always going towards a short-term dopamine hit or following some type of short-term satisfaction or following the path of least resistance, because at the end of the day, as our modern society has moved so far away from basic survival, it's become extremely capitalistic and primarily consumer based, where 1% of the population controls the wealth and resources compared to the 99%, which pretty much means that they dictate the livelihood and day-to-day day-to-day routines of the 99%. So what this means is that in our modern society, and especially if you look at social media, we have way too many followers and not enough leaders. And what we have to understand is that I'm not trying to say that everybody here should be leading a community or leading a group or leading a political party, team, or country. But I'm saying, as individuals who want to be a part of a productive brotherhood and get more out of life, whether it be in our own physical well being and developing ourselves physically, whether it be getting more out of life and developing ourselves financially to have more access to freedom in terms of getting our time back or access to resources that can potentially decrease our stress that comes along with the global money system, or whether it be personal mental development and developing our knowledge or further strengthening our mentality and growing that mental fortitude. For anybody who wants to be a part of a brotherhood or follow that type of mindset and further develop yourself, you are going to have to develop and have the characteristics of a leader. It doesn't essentially mean that you must be the person who is the leader, but you do, in my opinion, have to have the characteristics of the leader. Okay? So, in my opinion, to have a successful network of productive individuals focused on their personal development, the group, the team, the society, the subsector of society is required to be made up of individual self leaders. Okay? This does not mean that they all lead the group, but they must have the characteristics of a strong leader to provide relentless support to each other across levels. So what I'm basically talking about is, at the end of the day, when you're going against the grain and when you're going against the status quo, it's going to come with a lot of doubt. It's going to come with a lot of personal doubt as well as external doubt from maybe family members, friends, society, whatever it may be that you're potentially going against to further develop yourself. It's going to come with a lot of stress and tension that your body and mind is not used to, because your body and mind in the modern society just wants to follow a pathway of comfort. But a pathway of comfort will only lead you into being an extreme consumer, but overall extremely depressed with the well-being and the state you are in with your physical, financial, and mental well-being, which we can see is evident across the board in the modern society. So when you are going against on this path, it is very easy to fall off that path. You need a support system, which I discussed in the Brotherhood webinar, but it's not just that simple. You can't just have a bunch of people saying, oh yeah, go ahead, go do it. Yeah, you can do it. It's not just the words that's going to be your support system. You need to be around other leaders, other people who are on that journey and have this relentless courage to keep facing adversity. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can be a visual and verbal and physical support system for each other, as at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of ups and downs, right? So you have to be first, before you can be giving any value to someone else, any value to a single other person or a team or a group, you have to be able to know how to get value yourself out of life and how to become a productive person yourself. And that's really only going to become evident when you have the characteristics of a leader. Okay? So in our modern society, there are way too many followers and not enough leaders. And it's evident to see, as followers are the best consumers, and the modern economic world is filled with consumers rather than producers. Consumption is advertised through all media platforms and stimuli 24/7 wherever you look. The issue is, a lot of these followers lack self-awareness. They do not trust themselves. They do not have confidence in themselves. They are lacking any type of direction in which way to lead their life, and they don't realize that subconsciously they are repeating self-destructive habits, right? And they are also extremely scared of any type of trial and error process, because any type of trial and error process comes with challenges. It comes with hurdles. It comes with needing to change yourself and grow. And nobody wants to feel that stress or pressure anymore, as it's normalized in society to instead turn to a short-term dopamine hit as a solution. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, like I've discussed in many other webinars, we don't want to be that type of person who is constantly chasing short-term satisfaction and has no long-term vision for our life. And also, at the end of the day, doesn't really you don't want to be someone who doesn't love yourself or who doesn't like yourself, and because of that you're always trying to numb out the reality of your well-being by turning towards social media, or by turning towards playing more video games or porn, or to abusing a substance, just because you're really trying to numb yourself from the reality of what you see in the mirror, or how you truly feel about yourself inside. This can all be controlled. This can all be changed. But it's a big step to go towards changing all this. But I feel that if you bring together the concepts in these self-development webinars, you will really have realistic expectations that nobody has a clear-cut step-by-step process of how to be a leader or of how to find success. But there are very common universal principles across the board, which we know that you have to have an extreme level of work ethic. You have to have an extreme level of self-dependence and responsibility and dependability on yourself. You have to be very logical thinking. You have to have an extreme focus and vision on your long-term goals. You have to be very disciplined in your craft. And these various mental concepts are universal across the board if you're trying to find success, regardless what it is. Regardless if you're trying to run a successful business, whether it's some type of retail store, some type of restaurant. And remember, I said successful business, not just open a business, because 90% of businesses end up failing if you do not have those various characteristics and cannot stay adaptive, disciplined, patient, and so forth, whatever it may be. Whether you're trying to pursue a career that has a higher monetary income and financial gain at the end of it, usually that takes the characteristics of a leader. Whether you're trying to become a well-paid doctor, a well-paid lawyer, whether you are trying to develop yourself physically, trying to become a professional athlete, trying to become a trader in the financial markets, a successful author, whatever it may be, the characteristics of what it takes to become at that level of success is the same across the board. Okay? So, what are the characteristics of a leader? Well, this isn't in any order, but this is what I was looking at while doing some research and reflecting other leaders, as well as looking at areas that I am lacking and personally need to develop. Is number one, a leader has great vision. Now, vision, I don't mean just your eyes. What I mean by vision is an outlook towards the future. Okay? And when you have an outlook towards the future, which is pretty much another way to represent long-term goals for yourself, it's very easy to understand that to achieve long-term goals, it takes a lot of work in the short-term periods, day in and day out work towards your long-term goals. So a leader has that long-term vision and is able to focus on long-term goals rather than short-term satisfactions, and they are very good at knowing how to handle delaying instant gratification and focusing on the overall bigger picture instead. Okay? A leader is also inspirational. Okay? And they're not just inspirational through what they say, they're more inspirational through their actions, what they do, what they show. So this usually comes with having an extreme work ethic and sheer discipline towards the above, the vision of long-term goals and so forth, okay? A leader is also very strategic and critical thinking based. They are not usually as emotional thinking based, because when you are very emotional, when you are thinking from an emotional mindset, that is very, most of the time, selfish based thinking. You are thinking based on how an event, how something externally makes you feel. At the end of the day, that type of thinking is selfish because it's only in the benefit of your emotions or influenced by your own emotions. You know what I mean? Whereas somebody who is a good leader doesn't necessarily think with their own personal emotions, insecurities, or doubts. They think in reality, based on logic, strategy, the critical thinking aspect, and having a realistic approach to their goals. Okay? This also leads into the next step, that with that strategic and critical thinking, they also have great interpersonal communication, the ability to communicate with very strong awareness, emotional control, and to communicate what they are trying to achieve to get other people on the same page and on towards the same long-term vision as them. You also need an extreme level of self-awareness. You can't have anybody else tell you what you are doing incorrect. Oh, of course, it's great to have somebody give you reminders, but you should really enter a place of solitude at one point in your life where you enter this period where you are so critical on yourself and so self-aware through a logical perspective of understanding your strengths and your weaknesses and knowing how to be harder on yourself versus anyone else and taking that extreme ownership. Okay? You also have to have open-mindedness and creativity, because whether it's running a business, a restaurant, or a retail store, whether it's being involved in the financial markets, you cannot be too rigid. You have to be very adaptive and always be willing to learn. At the end of the day, whether you're trying to be a successful chef long term, or a professional athlete, or a professional trader, or finding long-term success in the financial markets, you are always in essence gonna be a student of the game you are a part of at heart. You can't lose that value of being a student of the game and always be willing to learn and take criticism and judgments effectively. Okay? And you also have to have a level of responsibility and dependability on yourself to a point where other people aren't even dependent on you, whether it be for a skill set you have, knowledge, experience, or whatever it may be. In my opinion, A person who represents and has these above characteristics is exactly the type of mindset needed for individual success or group success in whatever field, industry, or life. And now, if you guys remember watching the Brotherhood webinar, imagine having a network, a team made up of individuals, whether it be in trading or personal self-development, who have these characteristics. Imagine how much trust you have in yourself being a personal leader and having control over your life, and then being able to identify other individuals who also have these characteristics and show them day in and day out. Imagine how much you can accomplish and how much you can conquer in this life. Having other people that you can lean on when you are not feeling 100%. Having other people who are experts in other various parts of whatever game you are a part of, where you might not be the expert in that sector, but you can leverage off of each other, right? An example, let's just say you have a trading group of a few individuals that you trade with. Having people that are very strong in the technicals, but also in the fundamentals, but some who are stronger and weaker in vice versa sections, so you can leverage off of each other. Someone who maybe focuses all their attention on GBP technicals and fundamentals, and someone who focuses on Euro, and then you come together and collaborate or work off of each other's ideas or take each other's trade ideas because of that trust you have in each other through that experience and through exerting these various characteristics. Okay? So it's very easy that you could say, oh, I want to work hard. Oh, I want to have a group and we support each other and say, yeah, man, work hard, be motivated, go to the gym, go put those hours in of chart hours and study the markets, go actually take that step and develop that business you're talking about. But it's a whole nother level of network and social group when you are all exerting and showing the characteristics of a leader, but working hand in hand and working with each other. Because at the end of the day, the leader wants to continue to develop himself. The leader wants to continue to develop those around him because he knows when he does that, it's also going to be the best outcome for him, right? And for his goals. So when you have people on this same level and understand and see each other as leaders, but also have a respect for other leaders, you may not be the exact singular person leading the group, but you're all still on a very level playing field in terms of responsibility, in terms of experience, in terms of value being brought to the table. Okay? So we need to go back, especially members of the modern society, into taking extreme ownership into every single inch of our life. Whether it be how we feel, whether it be how we look, what we eat every single day, what we're doing in terms of the free hours we have in a day. We have to have an extreme ownership, and we have to have the characteristics of a leader. And in my opinion, when you start rewiring your brain, when you start realigning yourself to follow a pathway of personal self-development, you are going to want to have the characteristics of a leader anyways. You're going to be wanting to be someone who has long-term vision. Even right now, who doesn't want to have the characteristics of a leader? I'm not saying you have to lead a group. You have to lead a country. You have to be a president. You have to be a general. You have to be some captain of a team. No. But as an individual, who does not want the characteristics of a leader, and who does not want all of this harnessed for themselves? Right? Who does not want all of this harnessed for themselves? You do not want to have a vision for your long-term growth where you can support yourself, your family, your friends around you. You don't want to inspire other people around you. You don't want to have strategical and critical thinking. You don't want to have very strong interpersonal communication. You don't want to be authentic and self-aware, open-mindedness and creativity, having that responsibility independently on yourself. Right? So I feel that all of us who are trying to develop ourselves day in and day out to go into even more detail should exert various activities, tasks, and day-to-day routines that would have us falling into the characteristics of a leader. Because you want to be able to lead your own life at the end of the day. You don't want to be dependent on somebody else for your happiness, for your financial gain, for your growth, for your mental stimulation. You want to be able to bring all that with depending on yourself, leading your own life. Right? This is the only way we can continue to evolve, grow, learn from our mistakes in the past, whatever your mistakes were, and live a fulfilling life. Okay? Okay, everybody. So just keeping this pretty short and sweet. This was supposed to be the Friday self-development live video, but we've had a holiday here in Canada, so I was busy with some family stuff and personal stuff over the weekend. But this is going to be a continuation and part of the self-development live playlist. So you guys can always rewatch this. Make sure to share it around. Like, subscribe, turn post notifications on. For more information on self-development, societies, having a positive, productive mentality, developing yourself physically, trading psychology, make sure to check out the playlist on the channel. And I will see you guys later in the evening around 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern for the market update webinar.